there's so much love here. You see
Mhm.
their situation, you see how they feel lonely too, and you think, God, these places must be depressing. But they are so full of love. And if you want it, they will give it to you. They give you the community that surpasses anything else I've ever experienced. It's so much love that all of a sudden you feel loved, you give love. I mean, it has been one of the most beautiful experiences of my life, and I feel that without it, I don't even think I would be the person I am today.
A lot of the work that we do at Buried in Work is about creating a system where people can make choices for these moments that are potentially hard
Yeah.
and can make them not everyone's lucky enough to have that kind of love in their
Mhm.
lives, but
Mhm.
everyone needs this safety net. You really can't do this kind of trapeze without some kind of net.
Yeah.
And I think about providing the environment where people can have that.
This is the Buried in Work podcast, where we share tips and interview experts to help you simplify estate planning and end of life tasks.
Welcome to today's episode. I'm your host, Jared Rizzi, and joining me today, Isabella Solano, who is the founder of Herralink, Herralink, excuse me. Isabella is an advocate for, let's see, it says improving the lives of seniors. And you do your work in Northern Virginia, where you're a young adult you've done this, you started this in high school. And Herralink, apparently, you're building relationships between seniors and volunteers, student volunteers. Isabella, this is a really cool program. Welcome to the podcast, but also just thanks for doing this work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for having me today.
I'm fascinated by this. So you talk to me about the genesis of this thing that you created out of whole cloth. It's so fun to talk to entrepreneurs of any vintage, but especially somebody who's starting up this really cool new company. How did this happen?
Yeah, of course. So, my friends and I had actually just graduated high school, and one of my friends at the time was a CNA nurse. And we're all updating each other post high school and how college, or how for me, just life is going in general. And he goes, the residents that I serve never have any visitors, right? And it was supposed to be one of those passing comments in through one ear and out through the other. But for one reason or another, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so a month goes by, and it's really just one of those thoughts that popped up randomly every single day. And so I decided, okay, let me just get it out of my head. Let me actually go to the building he works at and just check it out for myself. And what I didn't expect is to feel so welcomed. The first time I was there, I felt a sense of peace and joy that I hadn't felt in a really, really long time. And I wanted to chase that feeling. And so all of a sudden, instead of working at home, I'm working at the retirement home. I'm visiting them every single day. And I thought, they have given me the companionship I needed at a time when I needed it. They gave me a community that feels like family and a sense of purpose in this world. What can I do for them to give them back everything that they gave to me? Which is really how Herralink started. I knew that I couldn't be the only young person who needed a friend, who needed a family. There had to be high schoolers out there who needed something like this
Mhm.
too. And so that was really day one.
Well, take us from day one to day now, and like what's the arc of this? Because it starts off as this visit that you did, on
Yes.
the recommendation of a friend, and now you've actually got like a company. So
Yes.
what is that? What is it now, and how
Mhm.
did it get there?
Yeah. So it was an uphill battle because everyone wants to help, but there's not a lot of action behind that. Yes,
Sure.
I'll help, right? And so it was very easy to get. I got 2 partnerships in the first week with the retirement homes because I'm offering them help, right? And it's very easy to do that. And I have this really bad habit of overpromising. So I was like, "I can get you 200 kids in here, no problem." And I was like, "Crap, now I have to do it." And so I go to the high school, right? And I give them my little pitch. I'm like, "Hey, I'm here to help."
Right.
And I get laughed at because the teacher goes, "Oh, you're so cute. You look still like a high schooler," which I did, but I was so angry that I wasn't treated with the respect that I wanted to be treated that I thought, "Okay, if these high schools are not gonna take me seriously,
Yeah.
they, whether they realize it or not, are gonna give me what I want." And so I started
Yeah.
doing 2 things for, like, 4 months, like, 4 to 6 months, I lived at those high schools. I either would go there at 8 AM, and I would not leave until 4 PM. because I didn't want to just give them a brochure or give them a pitch. I wanted a conversation, and they would not give me a conversation. It was, hey, the person you want to talk to isn't going to be here today, or they don't have time in the next 3 hours. I'm like, well, I'll be here today, and I'll be here tomorrow, and the day after that until I get what I want. But then I realized that because I am not a high school student, I can only use the faculty bathroom in that lobby. And so I started to say, hey, I need to use the restroom. And when I use the restroom, I realized that it's almost always near the assistant principal's office or the principal's office. And so instead of going to the bathroom, I'd knock on their door because they thought I was a high schooler. They're like, yeah, come on in. And I'd be like, oh, hey, can I just talk to you for 2 minutes? And then boom, I'd give my little spiel.
This feels right now like a B plot in like Abbott Elementary or something, where I'm like, you're gonna be cast as like this character that ends up getting, completely intertwined in all these people's lives. I love the persistence. I love
Thank
this
you.
this spirit. And so then what is it now? So you eventually rounded up the promised volunteers, but like what is it now? Like what is this thing that you've created, and what's your role in it? Because I know founder can take a lot of different shapes. Are you pretty hands-on? Are you still doing everything every day, or have you managed to like delegate and create some kind of some space for you to go hang out at more high schools? Which, by the way, as someone who's like you really like, there's an age past which you just can't hang around high schools
Yeah.
anymore. Like that's you're not there yet, but like it's gonna happen.
Yeah, that is true. So in the beginning, it was me begging my robotics friends' little brothers who were still in high school to go. I would beg anybody I could. I would DM all the students that I still knew that were a year younger than me and be like, please just show up. A year later, I'm really, really happy to say that we've grown it to 400 members, right?
That's
400 high
wild.
school kids that care to serve over 1,300 seniors. And so what it is now is the program is split into two: activities program and the one-on-one program. Not every kid is going to care as much as me, right? That's just not going to happen, but they'll care enough to show up if they get service hours, which is what the activities program is for. And that is to introduce a constant flow of new people into the seniors' lives. A lot of the times, they don't get any family or friends to visit, and so what they end up seeing is the same staff every single day. With the activities program, kids will come in 1 to 2 times a week to do short 1 hour activities, right? And you get a lot of kids because they need service hours. Then the real special part of the program is the one-on-one program, and that's not for service hours. I actually try my best to scare kids away from that program. You are entering someone's life who doesn't have anybody else that
Yeah.
is important, that requires sensitivity and genuine thought into it. And so for that, I match one student with one student with one resident in a retirement home. And the point of that is not for service hours. You're going to see somebody because you want to see
Hmm.
somebody. And so that's what the program has grown into. My day to day changes all the time, and I love it. I'm very hands-on. I'm in these homes because the most important thing is the seniors actually built this with me, right? They tell me what they want. They tell me what they hate. They tell me what they expect from the students. I can't actually build something that is going to help them if I'm not there with them. And so that is really my role, aside from the like talking to the senior communities, talking to the high schoolers and the high school staff. That is what my role has evolved into, and I love it. But I do need help. And so what I've done is I've hired a team of 11 volunteer high school students. They
It's wild.
are the most beautiful, wonderful, and inspiring people I know because they see the world still as full of opportunities. So I give them a task. I say, hey, do this and do this in a week. And they go, I've never done this before. You can do anything that you want. We're going to learn together. And so I have a bunch of 11 kids with big eyes who think the sky's the limit for them. And so together, I really believe that we are going to be able to change the residents' world together.
You mentioned that not everyone cares as much as you do, and anybody who's created anything or put anything out there knows that it's hard to build a team. I want to ask kind of a two-part, which is, what do you feel like kids who are getting more than just service hours out of this, what are they taking away when you see them? And then I also want to ask you, you talked about you really needed this too. And I just have to know, like, what was the space in your heart that you had that was like, where did that come from, and what
Yeah.
what do you get it? Because this feels like, I see, talk to people who are entrepreneurs, and like usually there's some other place in their heart this isn't always just, nothing's guaranteed,
Yes.
everything is a gamble, and so you're trying to put yourself out there in a way like this is personal for you. What is that?
Yeah. Oh, so to start with the students who
Yeah.
aren't doing it for service hours, a lot of the times I get, oh, the residents are their mentors, but it's not really that. It really is that an 80-year-old and a 15-year-old can be friends because they want to, right? So
Mhm.
you get a lot of different type of kids, but the 15 kids in the one-on-one program, the pattern that they usually fall into is one of two. One, they really need a friend. They have a hard home life. They're getting bullied. For whatever reason, they need one person in this world that
Sure.
believes in them and that cares enough to consider them a friend, right? They find solace in this community. Or the second is they just want to make an impact, right? But then it becomes more genuine than that. It's not the intention of, I want to help, I want to do something. It's, oh, wait, I like you. I
Mhm.
want to be your friend. And I've seen it where students will say, okay, I'll be there every hour once a week. And then they all of a sudden start upping their hours to 4 to 6 hours. Or they'll be like, is it okay if I just stay however long I want? Yes, that
Sure.
is the point. On my side, I work a lot, right? And at the time I was working for a tech company. I am very dedicated in what I do. Without even realizing, I started to feel it but not understand that I was lonely myself, right? I have my immediate family and I have a really small but tight, close friends, but I didn't have anything more than that. I wasn't really connected to something bigger than me and something that I could feel that I could depend on. And so there was something missing in my life. And also, all my classes are online in community college. And so I'm extremely isolated. I don't even talk to the teachers. And so there was a very deep hole in my life. I just didn't really realize it and I didn't really know what was missing.
Yeah.
And it was what I say the first time I went into the retirement home, I felt warm and fuzzy and I felt at peace. And it was a feeling I wanted to chase. And a year later, I feel that every time I step into that community. And here's why, or at least here's why I think there's so much love here. You see
Mhm.
their situation, you see how they feel lonely too, and you think, God, these places must be depressing. But they are so full of love. And if you want it, they will give it to you. They give you the community that surpasses anything else I've ever experienced. It's so much love that all of a sudden you feel loved, you give love. I mean, it has been one of the most beautiful experiences of my life, and I feel that without it, I don't even think I would be the person I am today.
A lot of the work that we do at Buried in Work is about creating a system where people can make choices for these moments that are potentially hard
Yeah.
and can make them not everyone's lucky enough to have that kind of love in their
Mhm.
lives,
Mhm.
but everyone needs this safety net. You really can't do this kind of trapeze without some kind of net.
Yeah.
And I think about providing the environment where people can have that
Mhm.
fulfilled in some small way. And I wonder about some of the lessons that maybe you've seen for people who are in this place in life and have either, unresolved or regrets or some of these tough feelings, how they express that to you and how long does it take for them to feel comfortable enough.
Mhm.
But I guess my question is, how do you see people at this point in their lives and what are they talking to you about? What are they holding on to and you happen to be the person that they've decided to hand this piece of, you said mentorship, like this nugget of wisdom or this personal story that maybe they haven't shared in a while. What are they talking about?
They're all so different, but they all will tell you the same thing about what they wish they would have done, and they wish they would have connected with their community. That's the real thing, right? I don't know all their situations. Some of them are estranged with their families. Some of them had so many people around them, and now they live in a different state. Whatever their situation is, they regret not tapping into something early on, right? Because it's more than depending on your immediate family and your close friends. It's about being able to know that the people in your community will step up to visit you. That is the number one thing they tell me, and that's what I hear them tell the students too.
Yeah.
Man, I wish more people would be in here. And if you really dig deeper in it, you ask why. They go through their life and they go, some of them will say, well, I was so connected with people at school. School was the best time in my life. Or I loved work because I loved seeing people every day. And the common thread is people, constant interaction with
Yeah.
people, and connecting with that community when you have the opportunity to do it, which is the world that I envision. What if we became preventative? What if we taught early stage communities and young adults the power of connecting with people through all walks of life? Not just people that are the same age as you, but someone who is significantly older. You
Yeah.
break down that superficial barrier so that when you grow old and you might age in these facilities, you won't have to worry. You will live a life with dignity and one where you actually want to age in.
It's hard because in these, we have a very different society than our parents and grandparents had. And the rules are changing, what's available is changing, people's engagement in their
Yeah.
communities is changing drastically. People don't always have the same kinds of support that they had when they were younger. And it's fascinating for me to see you fill that gap in this way. What do you see as the future of this? Because I'm sure, as you've described from the very beginning, there's a demand for this.
Yes.
Do you see yourself as saying, "Oh, I really want to do this and drill down into the community. I want to double down on this community where you are in Northern Virginia, right?"
Mhm.
Or do you want to say, "Oh, I want to scale this and see Herralink exist in other communities?" Like, where do you see the next phase of what you're doing?
Here's where I see ourselves positioning and scaling. As the world turns towards AI, we turn towards each other. It's as simple as that, right? And
Yeah.
so, what I envision is that we start to go into communities and we just give the opportunity of friendship. That's it. We don't have to force it. I don't want to say I'm going to be everywhere, and that's that. It's here's that opportunity if you want it. For the high schoolers, you want a friend, you want to make a difference. Here's a new experience that will allow you to do that. For the seniors, you want to interact with someone who you don't see on a daily basis. Here's that experience. If you want it, take it because I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this because I do think that there's a really cool opportunity here. And as somebody who is, you're coming from this very personal angle, it just
Mhm.
feels like it's destined for a lot of success. And I hope that you find that. For people who are, one of the things that I think a lot of people who deal with this kind of caregiving or caregiving adjacent work
Mhm.
is that there's a real you might feel wrung dry at any given
Yeah.
time. I think about even just the conversations we have at Buried in Work. You're talking to people who, they might be afraid of what they have to plan, or they might be, this is something they feel a lot of anxiety about. There's connections with their family. These are things that can really, if you're not careful, I don't want to say guarded, but if you're not careful with yourself, you can end up spending a lot of your own personal, juice on this and maybe not get it back. So I guess I know that, again, we talk about this in Buried in Work all the time. It's like this is tough. It's hard. It feels
Yes.
hard because it is hard.
Mhm.
How do you protect that for yourself so that you can keep doing what you're doing and keep engaging in the way that you want to engage, while also, creating an environment where you don't end up burnt out in 5 years?
Yeah, 100%. I actually get this question a lot because I get the question that, man, when caregivers trying to go into people's homes, we get turned away, we get nasty remarks. That has never happened to me once. And here's why. I don't look at what I'm doing as a service. I
Hmm.
never have the mindset of, I'm doing this for you. I'm trying to help you. Why aren't you working with me? I go, I get the opportunity to talk to someone new. They're
Yeah.
just another person to me. I'm not doing anything special for them. Herralink in itself is not a very novel idea. There's nothing really special to it. All I am is having fun with the residents. I'm talking to them. And that is the most special thing in my life that I get to do. And
Yeah.
that's how I don't get burnt out. Really, what my job is having fun with people I love. I mean, what an amazing job.
Yeah.
It never even feels like work, which
Yeah.
is why my students and I can come in and we can talk to any senior, whether they're aging in place, in a nursing facility, independent living, assisted, whatever model of home it is. We go in and we go, okay, let's have a conversation today, not let's do something for them. That never works.
And I guess the other side of the value proposition is, how do you make sure that the people that you're working with, if you're not serving them,
Mhm.
right, but you are being there with them because you want to be, how do you make sure that they are still getting served in a way? Like,
Yes.
how they're still getting something valuable that you're bringing. You're not just, filling out a ledger for service hours, or, kind of You know, I mean, look, a lot of us, I was a type A kid, you know, and I remember trying to feel in that competitive zone where you're like, I got to do all these things
Mhm.
to be a good applicant for the next thing I want to do. But then how do you make sure the other person's getting something out of it?
Yes. I think for both groups, it's always people think that you need to build something for them when you can build it with them.
Mhm.
People will tell you what they want. And the really interesting thing is seniors and kids, man, they're brutal. They will tell you when the seniors hate something, I am the first to know. They will be like, "Isabella, this was a waste of my life. I don't wanna do this again. We don't ever do that activity again." And here's another example on the high school side. I remember it was some, like, idea for an activity I had come up with, and I heard the high schoolers talking, and they would go, "God, this is the most boring service hours I've ever got in my life."
You
I thought,
know,
"Okay, how do I spice it up? What is something I would wanna do? I've never been to a college party. Wait, what if we did beer pong with the seniors and with the kids? That would spice it up. I don't think that would be boring." And now beer pong, jumbo beer pong, is a really popular activity in Herralink. And so all that to say, they will tell you. And if you don't ask them, they will tell you whether or not you wanna hear it. And that's when you can constantly improve. You can build something that is built with them.
I love that, and I want to come. I hope that you have an open call for anybody
Yes.
to come and play beer pong with seniors, because I think
You're
that
always
would be
welcome.
I think that would be a good time. I certainly would volunteer for some of that, and I'm in
Yeah,
DC, so I can make the trek. You
totally.
know, Isabel, I love this. I love the lesson for people who need community. You know, Buried in Work tries as much as possible to provide some of that safety net for people who feel like they need a little bit of help.
Mhm.
And I just see this is very much a copacetic mission. I love what you guys are doing over there. I think now I need to try to figure out how to get Adam to include more beer pong in our work. But that's a separate conversation. I just want to say thank you so much for the work you're doing with Herralink. You know, these connections you're building with seniors. It's a huge improvement for people's quality of life, and it seems like it's working for you too. And I just want to point for anyone who does want to get involved, Herralink.com. We're going to include that in the description of this episode. You can learn more about volunteer opportunities that are available in this region and potentially in the future if you
One day
guys
soon.
continue to expand.
Mhm,
I hope that we can all try to make people who are in these positions in life feel valued, that they are seen, they are heard, and they're getting
mhm.
what they need. And I really appreciate you taking some time today to talk about it with us.
Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful and a very genuine conversation. I had fun.
Thanks, Isabella. And I'm Jared Rizzi. This is the Buried in Work podcast. We'll continue giving you everything we can for the conversations that you need to have, the community you want to build, and the support that you may need wherever you are in your processes. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Buried in Work podcast. Remember, you can save 10% on our estate preparation package and games with code podcast10 at buriedinwork.com.